The Karen Reed murder retrial is on a morning break right now after the jury heard from a forensic scientist earlier today, two of them, in fact. Right now, both sides and the judge are discussing what could be a major snag in the trial. The prosecution and defense are accusing each other of springing late expert reports, and the defense says the trial might need to be paused. Now, this dispute started yesterday, and now they are hashing it out again in the courtroom. Let's bring in ABC News Live anchor Phil Lipof and civil trial attorney Tre Lovell for more. Phil, what's the latest on this back and forth?
Okay, so the judges called a morning break just about 25 minutes ago, and now outside of the jury's view, they're arguing this. And the prosecution wants to add an expert report that changes the timeline of the accident a little bit. And the defense is saying, if you do that, if you change it, and I'll quote this, by 1 second.
So this changes the timeline of when they are saying Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe with her car.
Right, initially 12:31:41 seconds is the timing on the clock of the car. They're saying it differs from the timing on the phone at the time. At any rate, the end analysis here is the defense has said to the judge, if you allow them to put this into evidence, we are going to need 4 days to look into it and address it.
Tre, you've seen your fair share of trials. Is this something that happens all the time? Is this unusual? Does this request from the defense sound reasonable? What do you think?
You know, it does happen periodically. I mean, most times you have your expert testimony and your documents kind of buttoned up and it doesn't change. But once in a while, you will have findings come in late. And so, you know, it's not that unusual. And the request by the defense is wholly valid. You know, if this is going to change the timeline of which they base their experts looking at it, their evidence, and they need to adjust it, if they're not given that time, it could materially affect the way they're able to defend the case. So I think it's going to grant the time. I don't think it's going to keep out the report, which is an option that the judge has, just exclude it. So I think it's going to allow it in, but also allow the defense to catch up with it.
Tre, are you surprised to see a change like this at this stage, given this is a retrial? They've already gone through trial once.
I am, you know, certainly on a retrial, because you know, any of the mistakes they made in the first trial, which we may have seen something like this and more expected in the first trial than now, should have been buttoned up. But we got to remember, the facts, experts' opinion. I mean, everything's kind of adjusting sometimes, and sometimes you hear things in a retrial that you didn't hear before, and you're still doing, tests and things like that. So although you're supposed to have everything, to the other side well in advance so they can prepare their case, sometimes wrinkles like that come in, and most judges just adjust to it.
And Tre, really quick, this conversation is happening outside of the jury. Can the defense bring this up in closing arguments, for example?
No, I don't think so.
They can't point to the change in the timing?
Well, I mean, ultimately, they're going to have to adjust to that if it comes in and explain it. So that side it will be. But the arguments in terms of going after each of the attorneys and why it's late and things like that won't come in. But certainly the material adjustments that have come in, they'll be able to comment on that, sure.
Phil, you look like you want to add to that.
Well, I think Tre's right on that, obviously on the legal aspect of it. And what does that do to a jury? The jury knows this is a retrial, and now the defense will get up and say, okay, the timing has changed. What does that say to the jury? The jury is going to ask the same question you just did, Diane. It's why is this changing on a retrial? The facts are the facts are the facts.
So, Tre, what are you watching for next year?
So we're going to get into the DNA analysis, and we're going to get into the findings, which is going to be very important. One thing to remember is, there's not going to be a smoking gun by any of these experts. Really, the prosecution's case is going to be proven through the aggregate of the experts. We had Hartnett testify earlier in terms of reaffirming that the fragments in the taillights was found at the scene where the alleged murder came. Then we had the pathologist say that the death was trauma with the head and contributed by hypothermia, consistent with the prosecution's argument. So now we're going to have the DNA analysis, which probably is going to put O'Keefe's DNA on those fragments, once again putting him at the scene. So although there's a lot to go over with the defense, the prosecution is using all these experts to tie it together.
All right, Phil Lipof, Tre Lovell, thank you both.